point where I absolutely hate eating, and if I could just take a pill with all my nutrients and calories, I would. Try my one-step diet plan. Step 1, get sick with mast cell activation. There, you've done it. There is so much to say about mast cells, so I'm gonna try to get a lot in this video. Mast cells are an important liaison between your immune system and your nervous system, and they're found in every tissue in the body. Because the job of mast cells is to respond to pathogens, they are found in the parts of the body that interact with the environment. So your skin, GI system, genitourinary tract, respiratory tract, and sinuses. Mast cells can cause a vast array of seemingly unrelated symptoms that are different for each individual and can affect multiple body systems. Symptoms can be as varied as hives, diarrhea, or fibromyalgia-like pain. Chronic infections like Bartonella can activate mast cells, so they start reacting to non-threatening stimuli like food, medications, chemicals, smells, and other triggers. My mast cells started 3 months into being disabled. I already couldn't walk, I already couldn't use my hands, and now I couldn't eat. So guess how many seasons of Real Housewives I watched? 34 seasons. Not episodes, seasons. I slowly and increasingly started to react to food and medicines. It seemed like my body would revolt with terrible gastritis and/or painful lip sores anytime I put anything down my throat. A couple of times I woke up with swollen eyes after taking a medication. A great look. And at this time, I still thought I had fibromyalgia, and every time I reacted to a new medication, my world would topple because there's a finite number of medications that work on pain, and I was quickly failing through the list. And I kept doing Google search after Google search of allergic to every medicine or multiple medicine sensitivity to try to figure out what was wrong with me, but to no avail. I had been seeing a functional medicine doctor who suggested that I try a low histamine diet. Histamines are proteins that are naturally found in food that your body's enzymes can break down, but some people have trouble with dietary histamine due to various problems, such as enzyme deficiencies and mast cell activation. There are plenty of lists online for high histamine and low histamine foods, but if you're anything like me, it will drive you crazy that no two lists are the same. However, if you pick one list and you start following it, you should see results fairly quickly, and this should indicate if you have trouble with dietary histamine. One of the most comprehensive lists can be found at factversusfitness.com, created by Anita T. She's a nutritional scientist who has had trouble with her own histamine issues, and I'll put the link in the video's description down below. Now, in your histamine and mast cell research, you might find that some books and websites strongly criticize the low histamine diet as being overly restrictive and therefore unsuitable in the long term. However, it should be fairly obvious that the low histamine diet is just a starting point to see if it makes you feel better. If the diet helps you, you should slowly try to add higher histamine foods to see if you tolerate them and to what extent. I've been trying to get my mast cells under control for 8 months now, and I haven't gotten to a good baseline. So trying new foods that make me feel like shit when I already feel like shit every single day isn't really on the top of my list of things to do. If you need a low histamine diet to survive, don't let the haters dissuade you. So back to my story. My functional medicine doctor also mentioned that there is this disease called mast cell activation syndrome, or MCAS, but he said it was a fad diagnosis. And unfortunately, him calling it a fad threw me off the scent of my own diagnosis because I didn't want to latch onto this fad that he seemed to be invalidating. No one wants to be part of a fad. Remember fedoras? I saw a dermatologist who said that my lip sores looked like an overactive immune system, and this comment clued me back into possible mast cell activation. I then tried to see this allergist/immunologist who was an expert in mast cell, but he wasn't accepting any new patients. So I booked an appointment with another allergist who shares an office with him. He didn't know anything about mast cell activation. He didn't know what an overactive immune system would even mean. And he had absolutely nothing to offer me with regard to my ailments other than allergy testing, which would have been totally useless. I assumed that since he shared an office with this expert, he would at least know a little bit about mast cell, but apparently doctors don't confer with each other and learn from each other? I understand that doctors can't know everything and are constrained by the medical system, but so many doctors are either feckless or pricks or feckless pricks. Fortunately, my genius mother found this genius book by this genius doctor named Lawrence Afrin, who is considered one of the leading experts on mast cell activation. This book is a must. It's called Never Bet Against Occam, and if you haven't heard of Occam's razor, it's some intellectual heady shit about trimming the fat in philosophical... I know, I made myself laugh. I'm so funny. It's called Never Bet Against Occam. And if you haven't heard of Occam's razor, it's some intellectual heady shit about trimming the fat and philosophical explanations. Afrin explains his own title quite nicely. I actually emailed Dr. Afrin a short synopsis of my symptoms and asked him for recommendations for doctors in Southern California. And when he wrote me back, it brought tears to my eyes because it felt like an expert took an interest in me, and it felt like I was corresponding with someone famous, like Justin Bieber. Some other books I recommend for mast cell activation include Toxic by Neil Nathan. He includes a chapter on mast cell activation that is sort of like the Spark Notes version of Dr. Afrin's book, and he recognizes that mast cell activation can be caused by chronic infections such as Bartonella. And he also has a great chapter on Bartonella. Another book is called Mast Cells United by Amber Walker. And while I was reading it, I really didn't know what to make of it. So let me go into that. So here are my likes. I found her section on testing very helpful because often testing for mast cells can be extremely finicky, and doctors often don't know how to order them. I also found the chapter on pharmaceutical treatments to be worth the read. So here is where I wrote, in the margins of my book. She cites hundreds and hundreds of articles and other resources, so you don't have to do much research yourself, but I can't vouch for the soundness of every single article or study or website that she cites. She also advocates for muscle testing, which has absolutely no science behind it, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So it's up to the reader to do more digging to find which sources they find compelling, but I'm gonna put the links to all 3 books down below. Treatment for mast cell activation generally proceeds from first-line medication, including antihistamines, to 6th-line medication, which includes chemotherapy. And since I don't want this to be an hour-long video, because honestly, it's nap time, I'm gonna stop here and I'm going to revisit treatments for mast cell activation in a future video. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and let me know your experiences with mast cell activation in the comments down below. And give this video a thumbs up if you've ever been in mast cell hell. And seriously, good luck Bartonella buddies and getting out of purgatory. Piper says purgatory is different than hell. Thanks Piper, I knew that. I am recording. Do I look good? And now I couldn't eat. Eat. And if you haven't heard about Occam's razor, no, I was gonna do trimming the fat. Okay. Occam's razor. Oh, I didn't shave my armpits today.